Welcome back to the channel where we uncover the untold stories behind reality TV's most shocking scandals. Love knows no boundaries, but sometimes boundaries know no love. This is the story of Jenny Slatin and Sumit Singh, two people who dared to challenge age, culture, and tradition for the sake of love. Their journey began with hope, laughter, and dreams of a shared future. But behind the smiles, a storm was slowly building. It was a storm made of family expectations, cultural traditions, and the painful reality of fighting for love in a world that refuses to accept it. Yes, you heard that right. Jenny Slatin and her husband, Sumit Singh, had been stuck in family conflict for a long time. Sumit's parents never truly accepted Jenny. They always wanted him to marry a younger Indian woman, start a proper family, have children, and continue the family bloodline. Hearing these things again and again slowly broke Jenny emotionally. Jenny wanted an independent life. Sumit wanted to protect his family's traditions. Jenny often said, "I don't want to live under anyone's control." But Sumit would reply, "This is our culture. We must take care of our parents." Because of this constant clash and endless family drama, their relationship started falling apart. In the end, their 4-year relationship could not survive the pressure from family and tradition. On October 18th, their divorce was finalized in court. After the divorce, Sumit Singh tried to move forward with his life. Hoping to make his parents happy, he eventually married an Indian woman. Jenny Slatin, on the other hand, was completely heartbroken. The emotional pain was too much for her to handle. She left India and returned to America, deciding never to come back. This is not just a love story. It is a story of sacrifice, heartbreak, and the painful truth that sometimes love alone is not enough. Jenny Slatin never imagined that her life would take such a dramatic turn. Living in California, she was a woman who had already experienced many ups and downs in life. She was divorced and had grown children. What she wanted most was companionship, someone who would love her for who she truly was, not for what society expected her to be. Thousands of miles away in India, Sumit Singh was a man in his early 30s. He was curious, adventurous, and open to connecting with people from different cultures. When Jenny and Sumit first met online, it started as a simple friendship. They talked during long late-night conversations, shared laughs, and slowly built a deep emotional connection. Over time, that friendship turned into love. Jenny was drawn to Sumit's warmth and kindness. He was different from the men she had known before. He listened carefully, he cared deeply, and he made her feel alive again. For Sumit, Jenny was more than just a partner. She was someone he could trust completely. She understood him in ways that no one else did. Of course, their age difference raised many eyebrows. People judged them quickly. But for Jenny and Sumit, love had no age. Eventually, Jenny made a bold decision. She traveled to India to meet Sumit in person. It was a huge leap of faith. She left behind her comfortable and familiar life to enter a completely different world. India was vibrant, beautiful, and overwhelming. The busy streets of Delhi, the smell of spices in the air, the constant noise and traffic, it was all new to her. But Jenny's focus was simple. She just wanted to be with Sumit. When they finally met face to face, the moment felt magical. Jenny once described it as meeting someone she felt she had known in another life. When Sumit held her hand for the first time, it felt like the world around them disappeared. They laughed together, explored the city, and dreamed about building a future together. But love stories are rarely simple. From the very beginning, Sumit knew that his parents would never approve of their relationship. In Indian culture, marriage is not only about two people. It is about families, traditions, and future generations. Jenny was older, she was from another country, and she could not give Sumit's parents grandchildren. For them, this made the relationship unacceptable. Even so, Jenny and Sumit continued their relationship. They believed their love was strong enough to overcome everything. They moved in together, shared a home, and tried to build a life despite the whispers from neighbors and the disapproving looks from relatives. Jenny often said, "I don't care what people think. I only care about us." But slowly, cracks began to appear in their relationship. Their love was strong, but the weight of tradition was even stronger. As time passed, their relationship became more than just a love story between two people. It became a collision between two different worlds. Jenny came from a culture that values independence and personal choice. In America, she had always lived freely, making her own decisions and shaping her own life. For her, love was simple. If two people loved each other, that should be enough. But in India, love is deeply connected to family and tradition. Marriage is seen as a responsibility to the family and to future generations. Sumit's parents had always believed that their son would marry a young Indian woman who could give them grandchildren and continue the family line. Jenny represented everything they had never imagined for their son. She was older, foreign, and very different from their expectations. The first time Jenny met Sumit's parents, the tension was impossible to ignore. His mother looked at Jenny carefully from head to toe, her silence filled with disapproval. His father asked difficult and direct questions. "Why would you choose someone so much older?" he asked. "What future can you have with her?" Jenny tried to stay calm and respectful. She smiled politely and answered their questions, but inside, she felt deeply hurt and rejected. For Sumit, the situation was incredibly painful. He loved Jenny deeply, but he also loved and respected his parents. In Indian culture, caring for parents is not just a choice. It is a duty. It is something children are expected to do. Sumit felt trapped between the woman he loved and the family that had raised him. One evening, Jenny finally expressed her frustration. "I don't want to live under anyone's control," she told Sumit, her voice shaking with emotion. "I came here for love, not to be judged every day." Sumit looked tired and conflicted as he answered softly. "This is our culture, Jenny. We must take care of our parents. I cannot just abandon them." Their disagreement was not only about age or nationality. It was about identity and values. Jenny wanted freedom, respect, and a life built on love. Sumit wanted harmony, tradition, and his family's approval. Their home slowly became a place filled with quiet arguments, emotional conversations, and difficult compromises. Neighbors talked about them. Relatives whispered behind their backs. The pressure kept growing. Jenny often felt like an outsider wherever she went. At the same time, Sumit felt guilty every time he tried to defend her. The love that once protected them slowly became something heavy they both had to carry. Still, they tried to hold on. Jenny believed that if she stayed loyal and patient, Sumit's family might eventually accept her. Sumit believed that if he carefully balanced his love and his responsibilities, he could keep everyone happy. But deep down, both of them knew the truth. The storm in their relationship was only getting stronger, and the hardest part of their journey was still ahead. Months passed in India, and Jenny slowly realized that acceptance would not come easily. Every step she took reminded her that she was an outsider in a world where tradition mattered more than individuality. In their small home, Jenny tried her best to adjust. She learned how to cook Indian food, practice simple Hindi phrases, and even wore traditional kurtas to show respect. She wanted Sumit's family to see her not as a foreigner, but as a woman who truly loved their son. But no matter how hard she tried, the whispers did not stop. Relatives looked at her with suspicion. Neighbors talked behind her back. And Sumit's parents remained distant and cold. Sumit's mother, especially, was very harsh toward her. She often reminded Jenny of her age, her inability to have children, and the fact that she was not Indian. One evening she said bluntly, "You cannot give us what we need." Jenny tried to hold back her tears and answered softly, "I can give him love. Isn't that enough?" But in that house, love alone was never enough. That Jenny's struggle was not only outside the home, it was also inside her heart. She began to question herself. Was she selfish for wanting Sumit to choose her over his family? Was she wrong to believe that love could overcome generations of tradition? At night she cried quietly, afraid that her presence was causing Sumit pain. Even with all the rejection, Jenny refused to give up. She still attended family gatherings, even when she felt unwanted. She smiled through the discomfort, hoping that one day her honesty and love would change their minds. She believed that if she remained patient, the family would eventually see her true heart. But the pressure around them kept growing. Sumit was constantly torn between protecting Jenny and respecting his parents. Arguments began happening more often in their home. Jenny would ask with frustration, "Why can't they just accept me?" Sumit, tired and stressed, would answer softly, "I'm trying, Jenny. But this is bigger than us." The harder Jenny tried to earn acceptance, the more resistance she seemed to face. Every effort only made the differences between them more obvious. She wanted independence, but instead she felt trapped in a constant struggle to prove herself to people who had already decided they would never accept her. Her situation became a symbol of something bigger, a clash between love and tradition, between individuality and social expectations. Jenny's heart felt heavy, but she refused to give up easily. She often told herself, "I didn't come this far just to give up." Still, deep inside, she knew the cracks in their relationship were getting wider. Acceptance felt like a distant dream, and the love that once seemed unbreakable was now being tested by forces outside their control. For Sumit Singh, life had become an emotional battlefield. On one side was Jenny, the woman he loved deeply. On the other side were his parents, the people who had raised him, sacrificed for him, and expected him to respect their traditions. Every day he felt pulled in two different directions, and the pressure was overwhelming. Sumit grew up believing that family always comes first. In Indian culture, parents are not just caretakers. They are central to life, and children are expected to care for them until their final days. To go against them was often seen as betrayal and dishonor. But when Sumit looked into Jenny's eyes, he saw a different future, one filled with love, happiness, and freedom. The painful truth was that he could not have both worlds at the same time. Jenny often reminded him of the sacrifices she had made. "I left my country, my family, my whole life for you," she would say with emotion in her voice. Sumit knew she was right. But then his mother's voice would echo in his mind. "She cannot give us grandchildren. She cannot continue our family line." Those words cut deeply into him, leaving him frozen between love and duty. Many nights, Sumit lay awake staring at the ceiling, his mind filled with worries. He imagined a life with Jenny, peaceful and independent, away from the judgment of others. Then he imagined another life without her, a life where his parents were happy again, proud of him for marrying a younger Indian woman. Both possibilities hurt him deeply. Arguments between them became more frequent. Jenny wanted a clear answer, but Sumit struggled to give one. One evening, with tears running down her face, Jenny asked, "Why can't you choose me?" Sumit whispered quietly, "Because choosing you means losing them, and choosing them means losing you." It was a painful truth that neither of them could escape. Friends told Sumit to follow his heart, but relatives warned him about bringing shame to the family. His parents reminded him every day about his duty, while Jenny reminded him every day about their love. He felt trapped in a situation where every choice felt like betrayal. Sumit's divided heart slowly became the silent problem in their relationship. He wanted to protect Jenny, but he also wanted to protect his parents. He wanted freedom, but he also wanted to honor tradition. As time passed, the cracks in their relationship continued to grow. Deep inside, Sumit knew that one day he would have to make a final decision. But whichever path he chose, someone he loved would be left heartbroken. The atmosphere in Sumit's family home was always tense. Whenever Jenny visited, she felt the cold stares, the quiet whispers, and the clear disapproval. For Sumit's parents, her presence was not just uncomfortable, it felt like a challenge to their beliefs. His mother, strict and determined, often reminded him of his responsibilities. "You are our only son," she would say. "You must give us grandchildren. You must continue the family line." Her words felt like sharp arrows that damaged the fragile peace Jenny and Sumit tried to maintain. His father spoke less, but his silence carried the same heavy expectations. His disapproving look said more than words ever could. Jenny felt this pressure every single day. She tried to win their hearts through kindness. She cooked meals, showed respect, and joined family traditions. But nothing she did seemed to change their minds. Their rejection was not about what she did. It was about who she was. She was older. She was foreign. And she could not give them the grandchildren they wanted. Slowly, this pressure started damaging Jenny and Sumit's relationship. Arguments became more common. Jenny cried and asked, "Why do they hate me so much?" Why can't they see that I love you? Sumit, tired and emotionally drained, would answer, It's not about love, Jenny. They reminded him again and again about his duty to the family and the generations that would follow. To them, Jenny was not just the wrong choice. She was a threat to their family's future. Sumit tried to protect Jenny from the worst parts of it, but the pressure never stopped. His parents called him late at night, begging, demanding, and even threatening to disown him if he stayed with Jenny. The emotional stress was enormous. He loved Jenny deeply, but the thought of losing his parents terrified him. Jenny, meanwhile, felt her heart slowly breaking. She had left her home, her country, and her loved ones to build a life with Sumit. Yet she was treated like an outsider in the very life she had sacrificed everything to create. The rejection never stopped, and the weight of it became almost unbearable. The pressure from Sumit's parents was not just disapproval. It slowly destroyed the foundation of Jenny and Sumit's love. As time passed, the cracks grew deeper, pushing them closer to a decision neither of them wanted to make. Jenny Slatton had always been strong. She had crossed oceans, left her comfortable life in America, and tried to adapt to a completely different culture for the man she loved. But even the strongest hearts have limits. Jenny's heart was beginning to break under the constant rejection, judgment, and pressure. Every day felt like another test she could not pass. No matter how much she tried to show her love, Sumit's parents kept reminding her of what she could never give them: youth, children, and a traditional Indian family. Their words echoed in her mind, slowly weakening her confidence. Jenny started to feel invisible, as if all her sacrifices meant nothing. And at home, the tension between her and Sumit kept growing. At home, the tension between Jenny and Sumit continued to grow. The small house that once felt warm and full of hope slowly became a place filled with silence, frustration, and emotional distance. In the beginning, they used to laugh together, cook meals, and talk about their future. But now, many evenings passed in quiet tension. Sometimes they would sit in the same room without speaking, both lost in their own thoughts. Jenny felt exhausted from constantly trying to prove herself. Every effort she made seemed to lead nowhere. She had changed her lifestyle, learned new customs, and tried to respect every tradition she encountered. Yet nothing seemed to soften the hearts of Sumit's parents. One evening, after another difficult phone call from his parents, Sumit sat quietly on the couch. His face looked tired and worried. Jenny looked at him and asked softly, "What do they say this time?" Sumit hesitated before answering. "They want me to come home. They say we need to talk about my future." Jenny knew what that meant. They wanted him to leave her. Her voice trembled as she asked, "And what did you tell them?" Sumit looked down at the floor. "I told them I would think about it." Those words hit Jenny like a wave. She had hoped that after everything they had been through, Sumit would stand firmly by her side. Instead, she felt uncertainty. Tears slowly filled her eyes. "After everything I gave up for you, you still need to think about it?" Sumit ran his hands over his face, clearly overwhelmed. "Jenny, you don't understand how hard this is for me." But Jenny felt that she understood all too well. She had watched him struggle for months. She had seen the pain in his eyes every time his parents called. She knew he loved her, but she also knew that his family's expectations were stronger than she had ever imagined. Their conversations began to follow the same painful pattern. Jenny would ask for reassurance. Sumit would ask for patience, and both of them would end up feeling hurt. The emotional distance between them slowly grew larger. Jenny began spending more time alone during the day. Sometimes she would sit by the window, watching the busy streets outside. People walked by, laughing, talking, living their lives. Meanwhile, she felt trapped in a situation that seemed impossible to fix. She often thought about the life she had left behind in America. Her children, her friends, the comfort of familiarity. For the first time since arriving in India, she wondered if she had made a mistake. But every time she looked at Sumit, her heart softened again. Despite everything, she still loved him deeply. Sumit, on the other hand, felt the pressure closing in from all sides. His parents continued calling almost every day. Their voices were filled with disappointment and anger. His mother would say, "You are destroying our family's reputation." His father would say, Think about our honor. Think about your duty. The constant reminders weighed heavily on him. At the same time, he could see Jenny's pain growing. He knew she felt alone and rejected. He often blamed himself for bringing her into such a difficult situation. Late at night, when Jenny had fallen asleep, Sumit would sit quietly in the dark. His thoughts raced through every possible outcome. If he chose Jenny, he risked losing his parents forever. If he chose his parents, he would break Jenny's heart. Both choices felt unbearable. One afternoon, Jenny decided she could no longer keep her emotions hidden. She looked directly at Sumit and said, "I need to know the truth." Sumit looked confused. "What truth? Do you really see a future with me?" she asked. The question hung in the air between them. Sumit did not answer immediately. That silence alone told Jenny everything she needed to know. Her voice